In this video, I'm going to look at Java on the Beaglebone Black. First, I'm going to install a JRE or Java runtime environment on the Beaglebone Black. Then I'm going to look at how we can build applications, Java applications within Eclipse and deploy them to the Beaglebone Black. Finally, I'm going to look at how we can use the Remote System Explorer functionality of Eclipse to make this process easier and use its functionality to deploy applications directly to the Beaglebone Black. Okay, in this video I'm going to just install Java on the Beaglebone Black. It's a Java runtime environment, and that will allow us to develop applications on our desktop machine and deploy them to our Beaglebone for our applications. So we're going to go to Downloads, popped away, Popular Downloads, Java for Developers. So Java was developed by Sun Microsystems. Oracle bought Sun Microsystems, so we're going to Oracle for this. So Java Embedded, and we're going to use Oracle Java. There is an open version of Java, but we are going to use Oracle Java, which is consistent with what we're using for the rest of the module. Okay, the website is quite slow. We want to go to Download. You need to accept the license agreement and go down, and you'll see there's a good few versions of, there's ones for Power Architecture x86. We want the ARM Linux version, and the one we want is headless, the client version, and soft floating points. So that's the version we want. So you click on that, making sure you've accepted the agreement, and we have to sign on. So, oh, that's right. I think I have a sign on for this. You're going to have to create a sign on if you haven't got one. Just I'm not sure why you have to do that. So that downloads JRE 7U45-FCS blah 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 .gz. Okay, once that's downloaded, we need to transfer it to our Beaglebone. So I'm going to use PSFTP, which I have installed through PuTTY. And we can open up our connection to the Beaglebone. 192.168.7.2. Log in as root, password root. And I need to change my local directory to my downloads directory. So on my machine, that's lcd c, put it in inverted commas, c:/users/Derek Alloy /downloads, I think. Okay, and it'll default to my home directory, root home directory. So I want to put it was what was the name of the file? EJRE. Input EJRE star. So that transfers that across. It's a big enough file. It's 33 megabytes in size, so it's going to take a couple of minutes for that to transfer to our Beaglebone. Okay, that took about 3 minutes. So just open up our connection to Beaglebone. 7.2. root. Okay, so we can see here we've got our EJRE file. So we need to extract this and place it in the correct direction. So on my machine, just to be clear, I'm 3.8.13 Linux, and it's the Beaglebone distribution from June. Okay, so I'm going to make a directory /user Java, and I'm going to install it in this Java in this location, the JRE in this location. So I'm going to move that file, EJRE, you can press tab to finish it, /user/Java. Change that directory, check that it's there, yeah, 33 megs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to extract this. So tar xzf, we want to extract it, EJRE, and this is going to take a couple of minutes. Okay, actually it was quite fast enough. Just check that. Yeah, so the full directory is there. So you can see here EJRE 1.7. I'll just leave the tar file there for a second. So that's our full distribution, and you can see we have a bin directory here as well. Bin Java and everything like that. Okay. So we need to add environment variables. If we were to execute Java at the moment, it's a command not found. So we have to set up our environment variables. So the way we do this is to say export path with a H, and we want to say we take the existing path, whatever is currently there, plus user Java EJRE, and we can tab twice to get the 1.7.0_45 / bin. So that means now that the Java bin directory is added to our path. We also want to export a new environment variable called Java home, Java_home equals /user Java EJRE 1.7/1.7045. Okay, and now if we type Java -version, you can see that we have Java version 1.7045 and it works fine. Okay, so we need to test that our environment works. We know that Java -version works, but we want to see if we can execute something. So previously, in the previous video on setting up the Beaglebone for USB networking, I created a repository. I'm just going to use the same repository. If you've done this already, you don't need to worry about it. HTTPS Derek Malloy /EE402. Okay, so in EE402 there was a directory test Java, and in here I have a test.class that I built on my PC, and we just want to execute it to check that everything is working. Java test. Hello from the Beaglebone Black. So everything is working correctly. So now that that's working fine, we don't want to have to type in the environment variables every time. So we're going to edit our shell. So by default, we can do this by going into our root directory, and we can edit our profile. So we want to add in our environment variables here. So we can do this by saying export, the same lines as before, path equals $path :/user Java /EJRE 1.7.0_45. Just check that you have the exact same release /bin, and export Java home. Java 45. So Control X to exit and save the options. Save as .profile. More .profile. So that means now that when we reboot our Beaglebone Black, that these settings are going to be maintained, and we don't have to enter them every time. Okay. I'm just going to set up a workspace under Eclipse just so we can test that everything is working and do the final step. So I'm using Eclipse Kepler for this, and this is set up for the Java environment. So it's just a standard Eclipse distribution from eclipse.org. So we can create a new Java project here. So let's go and create a new Java project, Java SE. We'll call it Beaglebone Black Test. We'll use the default location, standard JRE, and Java development environment, and we go to next. That's fine. Finish. So we want to add a new class. Called a class BBB test, just to have something different. We'll add in a static void main so that we can test that that's valid. Automatically includes object. So let's just let's do something different this time. So we'll just have a loop that says hello Beaglebone 10 times or something. Okay. And we'll put in the number afterwards. Okay, so that's compiled. It compiles as you work. So we have our application, and we can execute this directly on our desktop machine just by hitting play. And you can see hello Beaglebone 0 to 9. Okay, and that's just a simple application. So this is running on my desktop PC. So we could transfer that Java file across. Okay, so I'm going to do something slightly different this time. If we go to install new software, and I'm going to select my Kepler site and the regular Kepler release. Yep. And we want to go down to remote. I have to enter remote. Okay. So we want remote RSE, Remote System Explorer End User Runtime. So we'll install this. Okay, any dependencies? Okay, that's okay. Next. I accept the terms. Finish. Restart. Okay, so now we can go to Window, Show View, Other, and under Remote Systems we can add in Remote Systems. Okay, that pops down here. I like it up here instead. Does that work? Okay, so we can now go right-click that and go New Connection, and we want a Linux connection. Host name is 192.168.7.2. We can call it the Beaglebone. Just be clear. Next. Okay, with SSH files. Processes shell Linux. Next, configuration SSH shell. Next, SSH terminal. Finish. Okay, so now that we have this set up, this should allow us to connect directly to the Beaglebone. So if we try and go to my root, my home, it gives us our user ID. Now on our Beaglebone Black it's root, and our password is root. It's the most secure, but it is an embedded system behind a firewall. So I'm going to save both. No, we wouldn't like to do that now. Okay, so that's connecting. We'll accept the fingerprint. We want to create it. Yes, we do. So now you can see here I am. I've access to my Beaglebone directly from inside Eclipse. So here's my folder, and we can go to the root of the Beaglebone and get everything there. Obviously, don't mess around too much down there. Maybe stay up here. So this is the home directory, the root home directory, and there's the E402 repository with the test Java class that we executed just a few minutes ago. So that gives us access there. We can also access we can also set up a terminal. Just double clicking. Oh well, hold on, maybe launch terminal mightn't. Okay, so there we go. So I've launched terminal, and this gives us access. So we don't have to go out to putty. We can actually do everything with inside Eclipse. So oops, I didn't press inside the window. ls minus AL, the same as we did before. So there you can see I've access there, and we can go into E402 and execute cd test Java, and we should be able to Java test the same as before. Hello from the Beaglebone Black. So that means we've got our environment set up now so that we can do everything effectively from within inside Eclipse. So if I build this now, you can see okay, built. It's built already. We can go to local files if we want, my home. We can take the file directly, for example, what did I call it, workspace BBB. And BBB test is there, and there's a bin directory. So we can take our file directly from there, just hit Control C, press in my home, Control V, and it copies the file across. So we've copied BBB test.class right across. We can go to our terminal, and we can go to our root directory or into our home directory, and you can see the BBB test that I just built up here. We can execute it, Java BBB test. Oops, you don't put .class when you're executing a Java. It tries to execute it like that, and there you see we get the same output. So at a minimum, so this is a good way to set up, in that we use the RSE, the Remote System Explorer, to transfer the binary files that we built. And it's an interesting property of a Java application, in that the bytecodes that we generate in a class file are completely portable. This doesn't work with C++. We will obviously have to install a cross compiler to build a C++ application that we can actually take the binaries from C++ over to our Beaglebone. It would have to be cross compiled for the ARM instruction set. But with Java, when we build a .class file, it's bytecode instructions for a virtual machine. So it means it executes on the PC if we have a virtual machine, and it executes on the Beaglebone if we have a virtual machine. It's useful in this case that we're working with Java 1.7 in both cases, and in fact we're working with the exact same release, so everything should work well together. So that's Java working on the Beaglebone Black. It's good enough for us to use in the module now to build applications that run for our client-server applications on the Beaglebone Black to our PC, and we can do everything within the one Eclipse environment without having to use multiple tools. Just one thing that was a little bit awkward there was going to local and browsing the whole way through your file system to file the project. There is another window view, so you can go Window, Show View, Navigator, and that shows you your project with your bin folder and all your settings and so on. So you can copy that folder directly, hit Control C and paste it into my home and replace the one that's there if you wish, and execute as before. Finally, there is one other thing you can do. If you don't like copying the files back and forth, it is possible to create a remote project on the Beaglebone. Now I'm not sure how good that is for this module, because it's nice to have the files local on your PC. But let's say we were just to do it like this, create a temporary project. I'll call it new folder on our Beaglebone using the Remote Explorer. And we could call this Remote Java Test. Okay, finish. So we've got a project here, and we can go to our navigator and take our Beaglebone test project, copy the contents, everything, absolutely everything, settings and everything, copy, Control copy this, then go into our remote Java test, right click and go paste. So we now have a set of files there, so we can go into this directory, so we can go remote Java test, LS, and you can see we've our bin directory, and there's our BBB test. So now we just have to right click this, where is it gone? Oops, wrong one. Remote Java test, and go create remote project. So that then appears back in your Beaglebone, your package explorer, your source. So I've created effectively a copy of this. So let's close this previous one, and this is our Beaglebone test Java file. So we can then change this to say hello remote Beaglebone. So this code is actually saving. When I save this, Control S, I'm actually saving it on the Beaglebone, and we're building the code. Well, the code has been built here, and the binary has been saved on the Beaglebone. So you can see here. Oops, I'll do it again. So as soon as I save that, you can see that the time updated to my new time here. So if I go Java BBB test, we're actually executing on the Beaglebone, and you can see now it says hello remote Beaglebone. So this means that we have a remote project. The only issue with this is if we disconnect, or if something happens to your Beaglebone, you're going to lose all your source code in this configuration. I suppose that could happen on your PC as well, but I think it's more likely you're going to damage your project on the Beaglebone. So it's not bad. Let's say if you wanted for your project, we're going to do client server, it'd be possible for you to build the client code here and the server code here, or vice versa, and set up the project so that you actually have two separate projects. If you don't mind copying the class files across, it becomes quite straightforward to do that. The only thing with this system I have set up here is you can't, I don't think you can hit play, obviously, because well, let's see, hold on, why didn't that happen? Let's just try it, build. Yeah, we can't launch that, because what we're effectively trying to do is launch it here, and I haven't set up a debug environment. It is possible to run a debug server, Java server on the Beaglebone, but that's way outside the scope of what we're trying to do here. So that's the configuration. You can even open up and look at the processes that are running on the Beaglebone Black directly from within your Remote System Explorer. You can get your terminal, open the terminal directly to the Beaglebone Black. You can execute on the Beaglebone Black. So it all works together inside Eclipse, and it works quite well together. So it's a nice environment for deploying Java code directly to the Beaglebone. Is Java the best type of code to deploy in a Beaglebone? Probably not. There's a fairly large overhead in the virtual machine, but it suits us for this application and for this module for the moment. As I said to you in class, the C++ is probably a better and more lean language for the Beaglebone, and you know, we have a powerful processor, but we're effectively eroding that performance by running everything inside a virtual machine. So it works well, it's good for prototyping, good for demonstration, maybe not perfect for a commercial deployment, but it'll do us for this module, for this project that we're about to build.